For over half a century, humans have endeavored to make business a force for good. But is the movement working? Or is it time to explore a new path forward? Welcome to Less Talk, More Action. We are your hosts, Joel Cesare and Owen Barrett, experts in clean energy, net zero real estate, decarbonization, and entrepreneurship. In each episode, we ask provocative questions and share stories from the front lines of sustainability with leaders in science, tech, and business, taking real action to design a cleaner, better future. Thanks for joining the conversation. Now, let's get to work. Joining us today is nobody. You're going to get a solo episode with ourselves, me, Joel Cesare, the world's undisputed voice of building decarbonization, and joining me as always, Owen Barrett. I think we got to change this self-proclaimed Adam Newman of green building. I know you're out there saying you're the world's foremost expert on solar. Can we use that?
To be honest, I thought the Adam Newman thing was your jam. I don't even really understand it.
Yeah, or you've been sort of talking like
with it.
You've been talking like you're the Donald Trump of solar. So maybe we call you that.
I mean, I don't think unless someone can come on the show and challenge my knowledge as it relates to solar on multifamily, I think it's a fair claim.
Okay, all right, let's go with it then.
Challenge made.
No guests today, just you and I. It'll be a short one, but as always, lots of provocative hot takes and news in the world of sustainability and green building and climate that we'd love to touch on. So we're not going to jump off with how we're both taking action to make the world a better place. I think everyone knows we're doing that, right? That's what the Less Talk More Action podcast is all about. So I thought we could jump right into one of my recent LinkedIn posts that has gotten a lot of chatter and pushback and engagement. And then maybe one of yours, which I was intrigued by recently, where I think you were reflecting on your trip to Vegas for the RE Plus conference. But let's start with mine. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I'm not going to read my whole post. I posted this last week, but it starts with the climate movement is delusional and out of touch. And that was my reflection from a week in New York City for Climate Week. And again, I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but kind of my point is, look, like I'm there in Climate Week. It's exciting. It's lots of cool events, lots of brilliant people, lots of interesting speakers. There's a lot of positivity. I'm not hating on the whole event. It's cool to be there, but I just couldn't believe how many carbon removal companies I was running into, and people talking about how we need more regulation and climate taxes are going to be the key, and more carbon accounting frameworks popping up, and then people just saying maybe we need more reporting. I was just like,
oh boy,
what am I in the twilight zone in some of these conversations? Because then my post said, then it's like, look, people out there can't afford the electricity bills right now, and those electricity bills are getting worse. We talked about it before, like the New Jersey governor races. Both candidates, I get the ads in my local, my local TV. It's talking about how they're both going to address the electricity crisis, and there's been stories about data centers being at least allegedly responsible for people's faucets going dry in certain regions. So it's like, everyone, look, climate movement needs to get in touch with how Americans and maybe people around the world are dealing with probably more pressing short-term issues. And of course, this is a complex. We're not climate deniers. I'm not a climate denier, but I just felt I had to say it because I'm just tired of everyone being in the echo chamber, being like, oh, this is all good, and we're going to all hit net zero, and talking all the wonky scope 1, scope 2, 3, and the frameworks. And it's like, what world are you all living in? Didn't you see what just happened this election? Most of the country does not give a shit. This is not an issue that wins. So yeah, that's my rant. What do you think?
No, I mean, I like it. I think the industry needs to hear it. I think, without getting political, the reason that Republicans seem to be winning often is because they make their topics, like, what's the term? Dinner table topics.
Yeah.
They make it relatable to people that can understand it, regardless of how many years they went to college for, what their postgraduate degree is. They make it like more emotional, I guess. And we cannot figure out how to do that. We can't help ourselves but getting into the weeds of a niche within a niche that nobody cares about, nobody understands. We always make these claims. I was talking to my dad recently about how leading up to this hurricane season, everybody said it was going to be the worst one. It's the worst one we're ever going to see. The water's the warmest it's ever been, blah, blah, blah. There haven't been any. There's been like no damn, and that discredits our whole industry.
Yeah.
And so I think it's easy to say what I'm about to say, but and then the actual implementation is a lot harder. We need to rebrand this whole thing. Someone needs to come in and teach our industry communication skills, because
Even
it's
John
not
Kerry said that
resonating.
recently. Yeah, John
Yeah.
Kerry posted that exact term. It needs a rebrand, the whole movement, which
The whole
we
movement.
couldn't agree
Yeah.
more with. Yeah. I mean, and that's,
But then you like get into, well, how do you actually, how do you do that? I don't, like, who
yeah,
the hell
who
knows?
is that?
Yeah.
Who's the czar of the global sustainability movement?
Yeah.
That's also the challenge here. It's just like, and that brings me back to the post, my post. So what I then said was, look, what if we took all of this resources and time and effort and focus that's on climate, that has been on climate for at least the last 10 years very seriously, and instead diverted it to these other issues like affordable housing, or like more housing, or like reducing the energy burden for low income people living in affordable housing, or regenerative agriculture, or nature regeneration, rewilding places, protecting the ocean. These things where I think we can all agree would be wider coalitions to stand behind than the climate movement. And that's where it's interesting. Like the post it's kind of crazy. The engagement, it's up to 48,000 impressions. I don't know, something like 200 comments, and some people attacking me. Like, what are you doing about it? Mr. AI is decarbonizing real estate. And even
Dude, but
people
again,
like,
it's like this. It's like the fucking Tom Shoes attack. It's like, why do we need the perfect solution? Like, why can't we call out the faults in our own industry without having a perfect solution? Why can't we like do both at the same time? And I don't know how we always fall into this trap of, there's no point in like, you're not allowed to be constructively critical unless you have the perfect solution. Like, where did that come from within our industry?
well, not even our industry. Again, not to be political. It's like a liberal thing. It's like the puritanism of folks. Like, oh my God, like I'm going to be extricated from the whole movement because I question maybe not like we should
Yeah.
be so focused on climate. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to ask a question here, everyone. Like, and then no one else thinking about it. And that's what's interesting here is in the engagement. And then I was a keynote speaker this week at a conference in LA, the Net Zero conference, and
Do
the
you get
woman that
booed?
was well, the woman that was interviewing me, she brought up this post because she was like, I was really, I thought it was like a lightning rod to the industry, and she's like, she gave me credit for saying the quiet part out loud. And yeah, in the audience there was probably some that like agreeing, and some that came up to me afterwards like, what's your problem? Even people I know, like, you really believe this? Like, we shouldn't be focusing on climate? And it's actually, this isn't fair to you. You're a busy guy running a company, I know, but I feel like I have a good project for you. I know for years you've been talking, especially when we were trying to raise money to buy buildings and decarbonize them. And you would always kind of complain or bitch about the impact investment community. And you'd say, like, if someone could just give us debt or equity with a 5% return expectation, like we could decarbonize every building in America. So I want to give you an assignment at some point, when you have time, which I know you don't, to do like the question I asked there at the end of my post was like, I continue to wonder how much momentum we could produce on other impact areas, housing, nature, regenerative ag, etc., if we diverted all the energy from climate weeks, Davos, the IPCC report, the COP events, and every other climate organization that's raising money for their NGO. What if we took all that money, all that time, all that effort, and instead diverted to these other like issues where I think there's a wider coalition, or maybe even take all that money and start a fund that lends it out at 5%.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's an interesting. I mean, I don't know.
So if we calculate all the money, estimate all the money that goes into that stuff, especially the big events, Davos.
In time, right? You
Yeah.
got to do time, like people's time.
And you then said, okay, I'm going to start a fund and I'm going to lend it out at 5%. Like, how many buildings we could actually decarbonize with that new entity that was its
Yeah.
focus?
Yeah. Oh, I think it's a guy. I'll do it. I'll take that assignment. We'll put the due date on it, and we'll talk about it in another pod, because I think it's going to be powerful. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it drives me crazy how the simplest solutions always get overlooked. Like, let's just go, let's pretend all this wild technology and supposed solutions that didn't exist 15 years ago don't exist. And let's just focus on implementing the tech that was around 15 years ago. And let's just do that. Let's just focus on that and see how it goes, because just seems like there's too many distractions in this industry. There's too many distractions. There's too many people whining. There's too many people just wanting to point fingers. And man, it's getting old. And maybe we're getting old.
I'm wondering that too. Yeah, am I becoming too jaded? Like, I used to be like, I was super
Wide-eyed
optimistic.
and
Yeah,
excited
very
and
idealistic,
yeah.
and I love to try to inspire people with my energy. And now I'm like, man, am I the hater? Am I the one bringing everyone down now?
Are we the doubters? No, I think we still usually bring an optimistic lens to everything, but I do think the industry needs to be called out from time to time because, I mean, we're not resonating. That nothing is going to be popular. Period. Like outside of climate tech or any other industry, if you can't resonate with everyday people, and I feel like that's where we've sort of lost this one.
Yeah, it's a message for the whole industry, like you're describing, kind of this like, how do we garner the coalition we need? But also, that's a message we've heard from some of our guests, especially some of the marketing folks that we brought on here, just about how usually misguided early stage climate tech companies are at going to market and not understanding. Like, you're talking to human beings and asking them to buy your thing.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about your climate message.
Well, dude, I mean, that I've got a crazy side note on that. We're working on these projects in Washington State, and we have to use this very specific component. And the utilities have never seen this component before. And so the utilities are asking us to have the manufacturer sign an NDA. Oh, no. The utilities are asking us for some study results. So we ask the manufacturer. And in those study results, supposedly, are confidential information about this like stupid solar component that no one is going to want to use. And so they're like, well, now the utility needs to sign this NDA in order to get the test results because there's confidential information. It's like, one, why can't you just redact the confidential information? Then they try and send it all via this like file share thing. We go for a week back and forth where the utility can't open the file share. And I'm like, guys, the utility's not going to steal your tech that you're so proud of. Like, let's just give them a PDF. I'm not going to take your idea and run with it. And finally, they got the info, and now we're like actually moving towards progress. But yeah, nobody's idea is that special. It all comes down to execution. It doesn't matter how cool your thing is if you can't get it adopted. And if it takes a week to get someone some basic information, like that's indicative of your organization at large.
Well, while you're ranting, that's a good segue. So we did my posts where everyone's hating on me for challenging the climate movement. So your post starts with, got back from RE Plus events in Vegas, 10,000 sustainability nerds packed into 2 resorts, all complaining about the same thing. My take, well, I'm skipping some points here because I don't want to read it verbatim, but my take, this bill might be, talk about the big, beautiful bill, might be the best thing ever happened to renewable energy. So this take, like mine, a little bit of hot perspective, different, trying to call out your own fields and then taking a different position. This one's kind of optimistic, but why don't you expand for the audience here on what you're trying to say?
Well, first of all, I mean, RE Plus is like the craziest. I mean, it is mind-boggling how many people go to this event. It is like so that alone, I feel like should be optimistic to the industry. There's so many people, like all seemingly trying to solve the same thing.
And the RE, that's renewable energy. That's why it's called RE Plus.
I think it started as like solar, now it's storage, and then they just like shortened it to RE Plus. But and everybody complains there too. Like, oh, our industries are gonna die. How could Trump do this? Blah blah. And I'm like, guys, like let's expand a little bit and let's really think about what's happening. New Jersey governors complaining about electricity prices. We're seeing there's a huge utility on the East Coast I can't remember the name of that's asking for like 30% rate increases 1 year. PGIM or something like some acronym like that. I mean, I just don't see, if you take 90% of the new electric generation virtually offline, like a utility scale is where the big beautiful bill is really going to hurt. And utility scale is what's been producing a lot of this new generation. If you take that offline and then you sort of extrapolate what AI and data centers are going to do to demand, I don't see how anybody can argue that electricity prices are going to skyrocket for the foreseeable future, which, to your point, in the New Jersey governor race is a terrible thing. Like, higher electricity costs nobody wants.
Yeah.
But for the solar and storage industry, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's
like,
an opportunity.
It's unreal. So I think we're at the very beginning of this. I mean, we've been at the beginning of this boom for like quite a few years. But I think actually taking away the incentives and just letting market forces sort of determine the cost effectiveness of different technologies is it's like the best thing that we could ask for.
I said something similar in my keynote last week. I think I think it's Tom Steyer who said something to the effect of, when you allow things to get built, just anything, like you're allowing construction, you're allowing development, like less regulation. When you allow things to get built, clean energy gets built.
Yeah.
Because we've reached this moment, and like, let's thank the stars for the people that paved the way to make this happen, and basically incubated the renewable energy industry for the last 30 years and got us to a point now where we don't need incentives, and actually we just need less regulation to let builders build. I think that's something that we can all be kind of excited about. But that's, again, a little antithetical to the typical sustainability liberal perspective of, we need the government to save us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's nice, right? Like tax credits are nice.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be painful to get rid of them, but yeah, we don't need them. I mean, if you just compare like levelized cost of electricity across all the different sources, renewables win, and the speed to deployment, renewables win. So like, I don't know, but at the same time, it seems like it's more fun and more popular to complain than to just like put your head down and get to work. Or there's not as much to post about if you're just like doing work. It's more fun to post about complaining.
Yeah. Well, like we promised here at the jump of this episode, it's going to be a short one, just the two of us bouncing an idea around. And we usually try to end with our guests, asking them to tell us what gives them hope for the future in an industry that sometimes worries too much about the pessimistic side. So I think we can end on that, what you just said. It's a great time to go out and build. Renewable energy wins. And let's be hopeful and optimistic about that future, and continue, like we always do on the show, to encourage our guests. Stop whining, stop complaining, stop expecting someone else to save us. Get your ass out there and build something.
Yeah, well said.
All right. Well, no guests to thank, no handles to plug, except follow Owen and I on LinkedIn if you want to see provocative content and the world of sustainability attacking us. Thank you to our guests for joining. And you can find this podcast and more great content at letstalkmoreaction.com. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, like, and share with your friends. And until next time, we encourage you to ask yourself, what are you doing to take action to make the world a better place?